Hey guys, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Deborah.
And we're here to tell you a bit more about what we believe. So the question that we got today is a question asking us how we can believe in an invisible God. And I think that's a good question, right?
Yeah,
It's a question asking us how we can believe in a God that we can't see, that we can't touch, or that we can't feel. It's true, like how can you believe that God is real?
So, yeah, that's a really good question. And actually, I think that a certain verse in the Bible explains that perfectly or gives us a pretty good answer as to how we can believe in an invisible God. So the verse is in Romans 1 and it's verse 20. It says, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what he has made, so that people are without excuse." So basically what that's saying is that God can be seen through nature because of the complexity of nature and how beautiful and, again, like complex everything is. It's evident that God is real and God had to have created those things. So, for example, whenever we look at anything in our environment, like if I'm looking at this microphone, for example, I automatically assume that it's been created. I would never assume, oh, this microphone came into existence out of nothing, it was created, or it formed out of nothing. We'd never assume that about anything that surrounds us. So I don't understand how it's so simple to assume that from something as intricate as nature.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what this verse is pretty much saying is that nature is God's way of showing himself.
Exactly.
So when you look around, that's God, you know? God is everywhere around you. He created everything that is.
Exactly.
And I think the interesting thing to understand from this is that God, the way God is visible is not the way that we understand visibility, right? So he's not like, we don't see him physically in front of us, but he is visible all around us.
Yeah.
And his manifestation of visibility is different from what we may understand.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, for me, just looking at a sunset or a sunrise is so beautiful to me. And just the blend of colors that happens at that time is just a confirmation to me that there has to be something bigger than us. There has to be something that created something so beautiful and so complex as a sunset.
Yeah, that's the physical way that God shows himself. But then I think there's also like a spiritual way that God shows himself.
Yeah.
And maybe the spiritual way that God shows himself is a bit harder to understand for people who aren't Christian, because people might classify it as human instinct or just random chance. But I really believe that it's God. And I can give you just a very simple example. I remember one day I was in the university parking lot, parking my car like I normally did. And I always leave my wallet inside of my car. I don't know why. I think it's like kind of a bad habit, but sometimes I'm too lazy to bring it up all the way to my dorm and then bring it back down every time. So I leave it in my car. But just this one night, I had a very bad feeling. And I was like, no, tonight I need to take down my wallet. And I dismissed the feeling at first. And I kept walking across the parking lot. And then I froze. I was like, no, I don't know why. Tonight I need to take out my wallet from that car. And I did it. I looked like an idiot probably, but I turned around and went and got my wallet and put it out of my car. And the next day I found out that the cars in the parking lot had been robbed. Someone had robbed a few cars in the parking lot. Like, I can't tell you for sure that my car would have been robbed and my car was locked. But I can't say this feeling was just random, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't dismiss it as being nothing.
That's crazy. I actually have a similar story to that where, basically, I don't know if you guys have heard about the Beirut explosion that happened on the 4th of August 2020. But actually that day, the 4th of August, was the day that I was leaving to go to the United States to start university over there. So I was leaving that night. And me and my best friend Maria, we had decided that we'd go one last time for a late lunch together to spend some time before I left. And so that day we decided to go to downtown to have lunch together. And in the beginning of the day, my mom was actually praying in the morning. And she told me, Deborah, I feel like today we need to be praying all day. She said, you have to be very careful. I feel like we need to be praying. And so I was like, okay, why are you're stressing me out, but okay, I'll be praying. And so I picked up Maria. I was driving and we decided to go to downtown. And we were driving, and as we were driving, I had this really, really uneasy feeling in my heart. Like my heart was, I don't know how to explain it. I knew that something was wrong and I didn't know what it was. And Maria can testify to this because she knew how stressed out I was. I kept saying, Maria, I feel like something's weird. And so as we were going down to where we were going to eat, I decided to turn around and to go eat someplace else. And that's what we did. We went and we ate someplace else. And literally as soon as we were done eating, we all heard the explosion. And the place where the explosion happened was less than 5 kilometers away from where we were going to eat. So I can't just dismiss that as being a coincidence or as being, oh, I got lucky, like I got out of it.
And you would have been severely injured.
I would have, me and Maria probably would have gotten injured.
It's hard to understand how close this place would have been to where the explosion happened.
Exactly. And so I know it was God protecting us and taking care of us by putting that feeling of unsettlement in my heart to let me know, Deborah, you can't go where you want to go. You need to turn around.
And what's really crazy is that same day is the day that they traveled to America, right? Later that night, her and my best friend joined me at my university in America. And even that is a testimony of God's faithfulness and God's goodness, because before that, I was all alone in America, in my university. And I had a year that was honestly very hard for me, very lonely. And I remember I kept feeling like, from time to time, I was feeling, God, where are you right now, right? Where, like, is he invisible? Is he invisible in that situation? Because I kept saying, like, God, I don't know where you are. I feel so lonely.
Yeah, like you can't hear him. Like, you're so far away from me, God. Why aren't you, helping me when I'm going through a hard time?
But the story you just told everyone is not the only miracle that happened for, like, your process to coming to America. It's a long story, but the process of you coming to America was just miracle after miracle after miracle. And it's hard to describe all of it. But, like, God knew also, I think, what I was going through, right? He knew that I was going through a year that was really tough. And even though I didn't understand and my perspective was completely different, he was still there next to me the whole time. And he knew when it was time for me, like for you guys to come join me and for him to manifest himself to me, right? But he was still there the whole time. And then this story also makes me think of God's people in the Bible. When Moses rescues them, I don't know if everyone's familiar with this story. So a quick background is God's people are slaves in Egypt, and God assigned someone called Moses to free them from slavery in Egypt. And when they're freed from slavery, they spent 40 years in the desert before they reach the land that God promised them, the promised land. 40 years in the desert. And over again, we see them wondering where God went and why they had been forsaken. And they're like, I wish we were still slaves right now, because it would
be better than being in the desert.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we even see them turn to other gods and start praising people, other idols other than God, because they're so mad at God for forsaking them.
And they wonder where he is. They wonder where he is. But then 40 years later, God shows himself and he's like, I made a promise to you, and this is me fulfilling my promise, right? So I think what's really important to understand with this question also is, you might not see him right now, but he's still there. And he will show himself when it's his timing.
Yeah.
He will show himself, and he does show himself also all around you through nature and everything that you see around you.
Exactly. Yeah, so we hope this helped to clear up a little bit about the question asking, how can we believe in an invisible God? And yeah, thanks for taking the time to learn a bit more about what we believe.
Keep challenging what you believe, guys. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to engage with us. All of our contents can be found on the following platforms.
If you enjoy our content, remember to like and comment. Also, if you have a question of your own, you can send it to us through Instagram DMs. We'll try to answer all of the questions to the best of our abilities. All questions will be kept anonymous.
If you found this video helpful, please be sure to share it on your story or to share it with your friends. They might find it helpful too.
See you guys soon!